Hi everybody and welcome back. I know it's been a hell of a long time. Don't even tell me that's the landlord. I swear to God. That's why I haven't been making videos, because they finally started the... Hold on one second, let me check. No, it's the lady across the street. But I haven't been making videos because they finally started the reconstruction of the house. You guys know we got hit really hard with the October snowstorm and there was all sorts of problems with the house, and they finally started doing some work on it. And when they started doing the work, they discovered up on the roof that the damage was so much worse than they initially thought. So now they have to replace the roof completely, and my landlord decided he's gonna replace it himself instead of getting a roofer. He has a roofer friend that comes to help him, and so every day I've been dealing with that. Even if it was a professional roofer, it would still be really hard for me to make videos because it's like bang, 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 bang all freaking day long. But I think he's not coming today because he covered the roof with a tarp. He put some plywood down, covered it with a tarp, and left. I honestly don't know if we're going to see him till spring, so we might just have a tarp for a roof till spring. Every time I hear a truck, I'm like, that better not be that son of a bitch. I like the landlord. He's a nice guy, but he's out of his freaking mind. On with it. I'm making a video about this guy today. Yes, this is a Ouija board. Ouija board, witch board, spirit board, however you want to say it, whatever you want to call it. This is a Parker Brothers edition game toy that I got so long ago. This thing is really old. This is the planchette that goes with it. Okay, you guys basically probably know the gist of this game. I'm sorry, this tool of the devil, if that's what you want to call it. As I said, that one's pretty old. I've had it since, obviously it's not an antique, because if it was an antique I wouldn't be playing with it. I've had it since I was in high school. One day my friend and I was bored, and I'm just like being me. I was like, let's go get a Ouija board. So we did, and I just called it a Ouija board. And we played with it that night, and we didn't get anything, so we threw it under the bed, and that was the end of that one. I'm making this video today because actually one of my subscribers over the Halloween weekend purchased a Ouija board, and he wanted to get my opinion and thoughts on said board, and I told him I would, and it's December, almost Christmas, and I'm finally making this video. I'm so sorry, Wolf Knight. I have some thoughts and opinions on the Ouija board, and not everybody's gonna like what I have to say about this. And if you were taught as a child that these things are tools of the devil and you should not be playing with them because you will go to hell if you do, or you'll conjure up bad spirits and demons, by all means, don't play with them. I'm not here to tell you that what you were taught as a child in church or by your parents is wrong. For the love of God, I was at a sleepover as a teenager, and the girl at the sleepover had one of these, and I'm like, let's play with that. And all of my friends who were in like a CCD class, ready to make their, their confirmations, they were like, Emma, don't you know? We can't play with that. And I'm like, I didn't have a very strong religious upbringing. I was always taught there's a God and, you know, whatever, but my parents were conflicting religious beliefs. My mother was a Catholic, my father's a Methodist, so they said when they grow up they can decide for themselves what they want to believe in, and I believe that's a good way to raise your children. This is not a religion video, but that's why I never really feared a Ouija board, because I believe that is a religious belief. If that's what you think though, don't touch it. I have had some experiences with Ouija boards that make me a firm believer that you can contact people on the other side with these things. My first ever experience with a Ouija board, I was very, very young, probably about 8 or 9 years old, and it was me in my living room with my sister and her best friend. They had actually made a Ouija board out of a piece of paper, and instead of having a planchette, they had a quarter. And my sister's best friend alone was using it, and she was actually contacting somebody. Now what everybody was amazed about in the house, because we were all watching her do it, was that she was contacting the spirit of my brother's friend who had killed himself a couple years earlier. He said that was who he was, and to further prove that's who she was speaking to, she knew things about him that she would never ever know unless he was really speaking to her, such as what he liked to eat every time he came to our house. They had a pact saying that when they reached a certain age, they were going to all meet at this one place and hang out. You know, it's kind of because my brothers moved out of the town into another town, and they had this pact, and she knew about it from the Ouija board, and nobody ever spoke to her about this guy, and she knew all that stuff and was picking it up on the board. The really freaky thing about that is that at the end of the session, from the quarter, she just and picked up her hands, and we're like, what happened? And she lifted up her fingers, and on her middle finger, and I remember this clear as day, it was years and years ago, over 20, oh my god, I'm so old. Anyways, she had a burn mark, and she said the quarter just shocked me. I got chills. So that is my very first real experience with a Ouija board. I really do believe firmly that she was speaking to that deceased person. He was coming through and contacting our family, not necessarily me, because I didn't really know him, because he was friends with my brother before I was born, and he was contacting them through her. Do I think you should use a Ouija board to contact people that are dead? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why now. I am a firm believer in two things about the Ouija board that is why you shouldn't use them to contact the dead. The first being that I believe firmly that there is such a thing as bad spirits, demons, and whatever you want to call them. And I do believe that the ones who come through 99.9% of the time on a Ouija board are going to be those bad spirits and demons or what have you. And I believe that bad spirits and demons will do anything in their power to tell you what you want to hear just to get to you and do whatever. Okay, whether they want to come into your house and haunt you, whether they want to possess you. I do believe there is possession. Yes, people say that that streams back from the Exorcism movie, or the Exorcist movie, but I have been using this board before and have been speaking to my grandmother and my aunt who are deceased on my father's side, and they're telling me that they're talking to me, and all of a sudden they'll tell me to go F myself. And that's something they would never out of the blue say to me. So I know for a fact that I was being hoodwinked into believing they were them. That's the first reason you shouldn't use these, okay? And if you do, make sure, as with EVP, you use some sort of protection. Ask a higher power for protection. Whatever you believe in, I don't care if it's flying spaghetti monster, you ask them, okay? Number 2, I believe in the power of the mind, and your mind can influence what comes out on the Ouija board. For example, if you're using the Ouija board and you're concentrating really hard, and all of a sudden what you're thinking ahead of time is what's being written out on the board, you may be thinking, wow, I'm psychic, I know what they're going to say, or they're talking in my head. Well, no, I firmly believe that your mind is influencing your body to move the planchette into saying what you want it to say on the board. The mind is a very powerful thing, and I firmly believe that that happens, and I actually believe that I have been guilty of that myself, where I'll be using a Ouija board with somebody and all of a sudden I'll be thinking things and it'll be writing it out and I'll be like, oh man, I'm good, I can hear the spirit speaking in my head, and I'm like, oh no, let's regroup and or just stop this, and I'm doing this myself. Not intentionally pushing it, I'm not saying that. subconsciously doing it. I do have another story about a Ouija board, the reason I don't really like to use them anymore, and it's kind of disturbing, and I am 100% honest with you guys when I tell you this story. When I was in my early 20s, before I met the husband I'm with now and after I was with the husband before, I dated a guy for a long time. We were together 5 years and he's an asshole and And every day before we went to work one summer, he used to come over to our house, my house, and we used to do the Ouija board. He was into the paranormal a little bit, and he thought it was awesome that I was into it a lot and teaching him about some stuff with it. And he used to pick me up from work because we used to work together in the same place. So before work, he'd come over and we would do the Ouija board, and for about a week or 2 weeks straight, we would just play the Ouija board or use the Ouija board, and we would get the same thing over again. It would say a name, and I'm not going to say the name, but it was a very odd name. It was like kind of a Middle Eastern name, one that's not very familiar around here. It would say car accident and boyfriend and die. So we're like, well, that's not very cheerful, but we don't get it because we don't know what that name means. Fast forward a couple of weeks, we were at our job and we heard two of our friends talking there about a girl who just died in a car accident. And the one girl said, well, I saw her boyfriend blank, which was the name we got on the Ouija board at the funeral. He was in the car when the accident happened. And me and him put two and two together that the Ouija board was actually telling us that the girl with the boyfriend names blank was going to get into a car accident and die, and that was it. I swear to God on all that I have that happened, and it freaked me out so bad, and it's just stuff I don't need to know because I don't think anybody needs to know when anybody's going to pass. So I put it down and we never played it again. Together. I have played with it a little bit since then, and I'll tell you, what I just told you about the bad spirit that pretended to be my grandmother and my aunt together on there talking at the same time that passed, they told me that before Christmas of that year, and it was like in the late summer that year, my other aunt, who was the last living aunt on that side of the family, was going to pass away. And she did right before Christmas of that year. So that was the last time, pretty much, and I'm done. And I don't really, it's not that I'm afraid of what's going to happen with this, because I don't consider this any more dangerous than EVP gathering. You need to protect yourself anytime you're trying to seek communication with outer worldly spirits or whatever you want to call them. But I don't like the ease that things that I don't want to speak to can talk to me on this. That's all I'm saying. And know that I believe also that you can kick up some kind of paranormal activity in your house by using these. Anytime, it either EVP or just if you're trying to channel a spirit through your third eye or a Ouija board, you're inviting things to communicate with you, and you're kind of saying, hey, come talk to me, and they can get a mixed message and say, hey, I'm going to move in and haunt your house. So you just got to keep that in mind. You know, I just think that they're very unnecessary to use. And thank you for joining me, and please comment, rate, and subscribe if you are a subscriber. I so appreciate the support from all of you, and I look forward to talking to you guys very soon. Thanks again. Bye.